Welcome to Vision Plus.
Hello and welcome. You're watching Vision Plus. Without a vision, the people perish. And there's been a few people in the state of Alabama and in the United States that got a vision for what they wanted to do with their life. And one of them I got to meet, got his autograph, got to shake his hand, and covered him the other day when he was here, when he was at the Marriott at the Space and Rocket Center. And it was just so enlightening and so incredible. And of course his name is Herman Cain. He said people are just raising Cain to be with him. But the person that I heard about was Stacy Curtis. I'm going to call her over his campaign in the state of Alabama, and she'll correct me and tell me all the good stuff. But just in case, this is her with Herman Cain. I tried to get my picture with Herman Cain, but there's 4.3 billion people around, it seemed that many. Probably closer 500 to 1,000, even though the newspaper didn't have that accurate, but that's okay. I was there personally, I do know. So welcome, Miss Stacy Curtis. There you are with the guy. You're going to be able to sell this on Antiques Auction. Your children will for megabucks one of these days.
I sure hope so.
Okay, well, Herman Cain was here in Huntsville, Alabama, and 12 places, and that's 10, 12, in Alabama in a couple of days, and just brought the house down. He was so incredible. But you got to see him, and I mean, well, we saw him, but you got to have breakfast with him. Tell me about your how you got involved with Herman Cain.
I followed Herman Cain for quite some time, long before he ever even thought about forming an exploratory committee. And as soon as he formed his exploratory committee, I jumped so far on the Cain train, I practically jumped into the driver's seat. There was someone else leading the state at the time. He had other obligations he had to attend to with his life, so he asked me to step up, and I did. And I have been coordinating the state. I have wonderful people throughout the state that are stepping up in their respective counties and regions that are taking the lead to help coordinate and organize and just spread the word about this wonderful man named Herman Cain.
And you raised money for him already, $4,500.
Yes, ma'am.
And the most money that was raised was the day after it hit that some witch hunt said that he was sexual harassment. Well, give me your overview of that. But we've got to tell you first, she was one of the kids that was in the Now organization in the 80s, and I was in the 70s. Then our eyes opened, and we got the truth of it, and now we are voting for people who believe in God, believe in family, believe in the right things, and we believe in the verse, whatever things you desire when you pray, believe that you have them and you shall have them. And we prayed that the leader would come forth, and here is our Alabama leader for Herman Cain. So how did you got involved? But I mean, that's not usual for someone from Tony, Alabama to get this involved with the campaign.
This election cycle is not going to be like any other election cycle in our past, okay? The time of the political establishment is over. The American people are tired of the games, and it is time for regular Americans like myself. And I found this all across the state. There's people that's never even been involved wanting to get involved because they want to take their country back.
Amen.
And they feel that Herman Cain, being the decent, moral man he is, being a Baptist minister at the church, assistant Baptist minister at the church that he's attended since he was 10, it's just him. It is who he is. And I know this recent smear campaign that came out, and some people say it's baseless, and others people say there might not be anything to it, and there might be. This was from 12 to 20 years ago. And knowing Herman Cain like I know Herman Cain, he is just such a friendly man that I suppose even just saying thank you, you know, the wrong woman is going to take that wrong and say, oh my God, he touched me, it's in the workplace, that's sexual harassment. I honestly do not think much is going to come down of these charges.
And you know, it has surfaced that it may have been one of his Republican candidates that are terrified now because he's growing so fast that they might have planted the original story.
There are rumors and innuendos out there. Rush Limbaugh was talking about it on my way here, and people are trying to make connections to Romney. People are trying to make connections to Perry, and of course some people have already made connections to a Democrat operative that was a friend of one of the women that filed these charges.
Mm-hmm. And so what is it that we can do to bring our country back, to get our country back from what's going on? I mean, I didn't write 8 books, Born Again, Marriage, and Stay with a Man, and my daughter took 1 million Bibles to the former Soviet Union, and I didn't do all of this to lose my country and to have it go down the drain like others have over the ages.
What it's going to take is what's already happening. It's going to take people like you and me to actually get off our butts, out of our chairs, pounding feet, spreading the name of Herman Cain. Get yourself familiarized with his past. Get yourself familiarized with his 999 plan, which all can be found at www.hermancain.com.
So, did you get involved in politics all your life? Is that something you wanted to do?
No.
Oh,
Actually,
okay.
no. I was dabbling in politics in the late 80s, of course. I was on the other side of the fence back then, fighting.
What made you switch?
Common sense.
Oh, I like that.
Common sense. Once I grew up and started familiarizing myself with the facts instead of political rhetoric, it started making a lot more sense. You can't tax and expect an economy to grow.
And
you just
lose
can't
jobs,
do it.
and lose jobs,
Right.
and lose jobs.
You can't do that. And I'm sorry, but that's all the Democrats want to do. They want to tax. And I'm so tired of tax. I'm taxed enough already.
That's right. And people, relatives friends of ours have lost their job, and they quit going in to apply for a job. They just can't get a job. They now are no longer on the where they get
Unemployment.
the unemployment.
And they're
It's
probably
over.
not even being counted as a statistic anymore.
That's right.
They're
not.
only counting the statistics of the people that are actually still drawing unemployment. They've quit counting all the people that's run out of their weekly checks.
And
Lord knows how many thousands of people, you know, those
and they
people
go
are.
on welfare, and welfare doesn't pay good for people who have breast cancer and some of these serious illnesses like that, and my daughter's one of them.
Yes.
And she has gotten a call back that they might call her back, but still, this is not the way our country is supposed to run.
The good news, Herman Cain's 999 plan was analyzed by an independent firm. If he is elected president, which I hope he is, I pray he is, his 999 plan upon implementation would create approximately 6 million jobs and cut unemployment by half. And that is just a start.
Mm-hmm.
And that's before he really gets a hold of anything. Herman Cain has just got so much common sense when it comes to running a business. When he took over Burger King, there were 450 of them. They were the poorest performing in the nation. When he was done, they were the best performing in the nation. He gets a hold of something, he goes in there and he doesn't just act up to be like, I'm the boss. No. What's he do? He goes in there, he flips burgers. He cleans restrooms. He gets to know the people. And unlike people in high places that don't like to listen to the people that are under them because they just think they're so much better and they've got all this education, Herman Cain, if you have a good idea, it doesn't matter if you have a GED instead of a high school diploma. If it is a good idea and it has merit, he will listen to it, and if it's worth it, he will implement it. He is just so smart in that
And one of the things that's so exciting here, and I was so sad when our local newspaper had a picture about that big, you could hardly see it on after he'd been here, and they had the demonic thing on the next page about this big, but he is just so incredible in some of the things that he does. In addition, he knows how to run a business.
Yes.
And make it prosper. And
Yes.
that's what our country needs.
Yes. And what?
And he's not a dummy. He has a lot of education too.
Yes, he got his bachelor's in from Morehouse College, a bachelor's degree in mathematics. The reason he didn't go to the University of Georgia was because back then there was a quota, and the quota had already been filled. His daughter did graduate from the University of Georgia, though. He went to Morehouse, got his bachelor's in mathematics, and he went on to Purdue University, where he got his master's degree in computer science. While attending Purdue, because you can't keep this man still, he's pounding feet from the time he wakes up to the time he goes to bed. While attending Purdue, he worked for the Navy as a ballistics analyst, helping with missile trajectories. The man is a rocket scientist, people. It's going to take a rocket scientist to fix this country, and we found one right here in Herman Cain. The man is what we need. And what is so great about Herman Cain is when you're in the room with him and you actually get to shake his hand and look at him one-on-one.
He looked me straight in the eye.
He makes you feel like you're the only person in the room. And when I got to have breakfast with him, I was not that far from him, not much further apart than you and I. It was like I was listening to an old family friend. He is just all around good man, good moral man.
Well, I'm so excited. We've got a listener part of it right now, and then next week we will continue this, or maybe later in one of the programs, and we want you to comment to the number that is on the screen, the toll-free number, and also go ahead, Stacy, give them a number that you can be reached to donate or whatever, I don't know.
You can reach me at 256-755-0584. That is my cell phone. Or if you'd like to save me some time on my phone, you can call me any afternoon after 6 o'clock Central Time at 256-828-8228.
I like that, 828-8228.
And if you want my email, it's real simple to remember. It's a name I earned, and I'm quite proud of it. It's all one word, Office Shrew. Yes, shrew as in the nasty little creature. OfficeShrew@gmail.com.
S-C-H-R-E-W.
S-H-R-E-W.
O-F-F-I-C-E-S-H-R-E-W.
Yes, ma'am.
And we thank you, Tony, for jogging over here and skipping your lunch and being with us. We'll be back in just a moment.
Mr. Kane, I know you see this question a lot, but this time of year, traditionally, all the candidates are in Iowa, New Hampshire. We were in Tennessee last week, Alabama this week. Some people have been criticizing that. Tell us, why do you think it's important to be here, and what do you say to some of those critics who've been talking about that schedule?
The reason I'm in Alabama is because in this primary process, Alabama matters because of the changes in the primary schedule with some of the states. Secondly, I don't believe that, like in the past, this nomination process is going to be over with after the first 2 or 3 states. And therefore, states like Alabama, Tennessee, and Arkansas are going to have a much bigger impact on the outcome. Second, the other point is, for those that criticize our strategy, I only ask them to look at the performance we have in the polls. We're not running a traditional campaign strategy, and they don't know what our non-traditional strategy is. So for them to make those criticisms, so be it. But it doesn't cause us to change our strategy. Alabama matters, and it's going to matter more this time around than, say, the last time. And so our plan, which we are continuing to execute, we're going to continue to execute.
Could you expand a little bit on your views in space that you touched on out in the parking lot to the crowd about how you view our role in space coming up.
Yes. Relative to America's role in space exploration, I was disappointed when President Obama decided to cut a significant part of our space program. And here's why. Number one, President John F. Kennedy had the vision to say that by the end of the decade of the 60s, the United States of America would walk on the moon. He inspired this nation to achieve that bold objective. And we did, because of his leadership, because of the entrepreneurial spirit in this country that wanted to make it happen. The companies stepped up to help make it possible because of his vision. And at that point, we took the lead in space exploration. And I happen to believe that the American people would like for us to maintain that lead. And when President Obama decided to significantly cut a major program, it put the United States of America in a position that we as Americans don't like, and that is Americans do not want to have to thumb a ride into outer space with the Russians when we were the first ones and we were the leader in space technology. The other thing that I don't believe that this president and this administration understands about the importance of the space program, it's not just about getting into outer space. It's not just about getting to the moon and other planets, no. The space program inspires the development of other technological advancements that we then incorporate into businesses, the economy, and our lives. So in the Kane presidency, that priority will be reversed back to the way it should be. Yes.
I wanted to ask you what you think about Alabama's controversial immigration law.
What do I think about Alabama's controversial immigration law? Well, to me, it's not controversial. Because if I were president, instead of suing Alabama, I would have directed the Justice Department to go and help Alabama enforce the law that you passed. Because I happen to believe that the whole immigration issue is really 4 issues. Securing the border for real, promote the path to citizenship that's already there, enforce the laws that are already there, and 4th, which is the bold idea, empower the states to do what the federal government is not doing. That's what Alabama decided to do. That's what Arizona decided to do. And this administration decided to try and discourage Alabama and Arizona from doing what the federal government is not doing. So in the Kane administration, I would want the Justice Department to help facilitate what you're trying to do or get out of the way.
I was going to say, with these immigration policies that have been put into effect in some of these different states, they found a lot of the agriculture seeing a drop off in the revenue that they've seen because of those workers that aren't there. Beforehand, a lot of people said that Americans needed these jobs and they'd be willing to do those. A lot of those job spots aren't being filled.
That's looking at only a piece of the problem. One of the things that you will always hear from me relative to any issue is work on the right problem. If we solve the problem of illegals coming into this country with an unsecured border, if we clean up the process for people to become legal citizens through the front door, if we make it easier for businesses to enforce the law and to abide by the law with an e-verify system, then that won't be the problem. That's focusing on the symptom. So I believe that if we solve the problem the right way, there would be plenty of workers, whether they are U.S. workers or whether they are workers who come here legally.
Last question.
A lot of your supporters seem to like you because you're not a political insider and not been in that Washington Beltway. But then some of your critics have said because you've never held elected office, that would be a liability putting someone in the most powerful position in the world.
Right.
What do you say to that?
Those are the same critics who say that my strategy is not working. So I would simply say that they might think it's a liability, but of the 8 rallies and meetings we've had here in Alabama in the last 2 days on this bus tour, the voters and the citizens will say they like the fact that I have not held high public office. And I have gotten the same response all over this country, in every state. So the critics represent what I call conventional wisdom. And the political landscape in this country has changed because of the Kane campaign. And so the critics criticizing me for not having held public office, it doesn't bother me, it doesn't rattle me, and it certainly does not cause us to change our strategy.
Okay, thanks everybody.
Thank y'all very much. It's been a great experience. And like Bill says, I continue to get reporters asking me, why are you in Alabama? And the answer is, why not? But the other part of that answer is, first of all, Alabama matters in this process. The political so-called experts haven't quite connected all of the dots yet. Because of all of the jockeying that's been going on relative to the primary process. Alabama matters because when you hold your primary, I think it's in March, this thing may not be over. And I didn't want to wait until March to come to Alabama and let you know what I stand for. And the other reason that I told the reporters why I'm in Alabama is because they are my neighbors. I'm from Georgia. You're supposed to go see your neighbors. At least that's the way we do it in the South. You go and visit your neighbors. And then the other reason is there are a lot of great people here, and there are a lot of great patriots here in Alabama. Patriots. Because you see, it's the patriots that have awakened as part of this sleeping giant that I call We the People. The We the People voice has awakened. And they have awakened because this nation has been hijacked and we want to take it back. We have become a nation of crises. We have an economic crisis. We have a spending crisis. We have an energy crisis. We have an illegal immigration crisis. We have a moral crisis. We have a foggy foreign policy crisis. And the biggest crisis that we have is a severe deficiency of leadership in the White House. But here's the good news. We can fix this stuff. We can fix the problems that we have, because if you look at the history of this young nation of 235 years, we've had our ups and we've had our downs. But when the voice of the people rise up, we've always been able to fix what we needed to fix. That's one of the things that has made this nation great. It's our ability to change for the better when we have to. And we are looking for some change in the White House for the better in 2012. crises we face, one of the things that I have learned in my over 40-year history as a businessman, and as most successful business people have learned, is that if you want to solve a problem, you got to make sure you're working on the right problem. It might sound like common sense, but it's missing in Washington, D.C. Bill mentioned that I started my career as a ballistics analyst, where we would work on analyses to determine the ballistic parameters that would go into the fire control systems for the naval ships and some of the fighter aircraft. And as a ballistic analyst, the first thing that you make sure you do is determine, well, what's the target? You don't start shooting until you know what the target is. That's good old-fashioned common sense. And in business, you start with, what's the problem? And successful business people determine what priority they want to assign. Then you surround yourself with good people that will allow you to put together the right plans in order to be able to solve the problem. That's what leadership is all about. That's what successful people do. Foreign policy. I have been accused of not having foreign policy experience. And the guy there now does. But I do have a foreign policy philosophy. And leaders are supposed to establish the philosophy, the guiding principles. We've got plenty of experts that can help us figure out the details. And my philosophy on foreign policy is an extension of the Reagan philosophy, which was peace through strength. And the Kane philosophy is peace through strength and clarity. We must clarify who our friends are, clarify who our enemies are, and stop giving money to our enemies. And the reason we need to clarify who our friends are is so we can tell the rest of the world who our friends are, that we're going to stand with them. When I was in Israel last August, I had an opportunity to meet with the Deputy Prime Minister